pretty much done now. Fingers crossed, everything's all right. So the main point of this video is going to be going over my water to air intercooler setup. It is all done now, all the water's plumbed in, the pump, heat exchanger, everything's all done. I've got no leaks and everything seems to be working properly. I can't say how well it's going to work as in terms of using it on the road, etc. Because we haven't got that far yet. I have drove the car up and down the estate, so we have got a base map on now. A guy over in Greece has been mapping it. He's just done a base map. Obviously, I'm still not getting exhaust. That's probably the main other thing I need. That's getting done next week. So other than that, then after that, I can drive it on the road and start tuning it more. But when I was driving it up and down the estate, the ambient temperature outside was about 15 degrees Celsius. And my intake temps were like low 20s, which kind of seems all right for now. Obviously, not getting flow to the heat exchanger, just driving down the estate and stuff. So I don't know if you're following this to do it yourself. I'd probably wait for a few more videos where I'm actually driving it on the road and we can actually see all like real world intake air temps, especially when we start hitting a bit more boosts and stuff, because right now it's not really boosting. We haven't set it up for that. It's just basically set up like cold start and just general fuel tables and stuff to get it running all nice. I will show the car running at the end with all the stuff on. I'm just doing the first engine flush at the minute, so we will cover that at the end. I've also done the breather setup with a catch can. I'll show that at the end as well, but the majority of this video is going to be the water to air cooler. So we'll start under the bonnet and then work our way around. But yeah, let's get to it. I'll bring the camera over and we can check it from the top and then get going. Right, so here we are. We're going to start with the basics. I did make up everything myself just using universal bits. At some point I may get all aluminium parts with a quick release and everything, but for now I've just made it up with universal elbows and parts, etc., and then just powder coated it myself. So what we've got here is 2.5 inch straight off the turbo. That's what the size of the turbo outlet is. It then jumps straight up to 3 inch. We've got a 3 inch joiner here, 3 inch elbow again, and then this is the intercooler I got basically. I did get it from Turbo Zentrum. It was in Manchester, but to be quite honest with you, I'm pretty sure this is just the same like Chinese generic ones that you can find. If anyone kind of wants to do the same, they're on a Mark 5. I can give you the sizes of this so you can find the same one. Ideally, I would have liked to go for a bigger one, but your biggest problem is this, the fuse box. You can't, I've seen people move the fuse box, but it's just a massive job. You've literally got to cut all the wires in there and then route them through to the car. One, I don't want the fuse box in the car anyway, in the passenger footwell. I just don't want it there anyway. And then the amount of work it takes to move it, it's just an absolute pain. I mean, if you're doing this on something else where you've got all this room, like I've seen people do it on the Mark II and stuff, and I mean, you can put a massive one here. So if you are looking to do this, go for the biggest one you can get. This was the biggest one I could fit in here without having to move stuff. But if you've got more room, get a bigger one, get it all day. I would have paid more money and got a bigger one if I had more room. I've only gone for one this size, purely on the basis that I just haven't got the room without the fuse box here. So I'm hoping it's good enough. But like I said, you're gonna have to wait for a few more videos to see how well it does work. You've got a 3 inch elbow, 3 inch universal pipe. I had to have the flange here welded on, my aluminium welder, because they're all aluminium pipes. Then I've got the Turbo Smart race port blow off valve, and then it steps up to the throttle body. The throttle body is actually like, is it 3.25 or something like that? It's a bit bigger than 3 inch anyway, so you have to have a little step up here. So I've got a little step up off the 3 inch pipe and then it jumps up onto the throttle body. I've got all these Mishimoto gold clamps. I didn't even know you could get gold clamps, and I wasn't looking for gold clamps either, but when I started looking around for these clamps, I found that Mishimoto did them. They're about the same price as the ones that are just generic off eBay that have got no brand on them. So I thought I'll go for the Mishimoto ones, looking at silver ones. And I seen they did gold, and I thought with the flip colours on this, sometimes it goes a little bit gold, so I kind of thought they'll work together. And I am happy with them, to be fair. They're real nice looking, they clamp really well. As for I have some brackets and stuff on this, I've actually got, unfortunately I should have took pictures before, but I've got like rubber feet. So I basically made some threaded, they were like rubber feet, kind of like what you'd get on like a table and stuff. They're quite thick rubber feet, and I've made them on threads. So there's one here and then there's one at the back that's tilted. So this isn't actually fixed down as such, but you can see it don't really move. It's sitting on the rubber feet. so it can't really go anywhere. So it seems to work quite well so far. I'll have to see how I get on. But yeah, there's not actually anything bolting this down as such. It's just sitting on these rubber feet and then everything's holding it in place. But as you can see, you can't really, I mean, you can't tell how much force I'm putting on that, but I'm putting quite a bit. It doesn't really move a lot. You can't really lift it a lot, and obviously it's on the rubber feet. So again, I'd have to see how I get on. I couldn't really see anywhere to bracket it without taking it to a fabricator and having it properly fabricated. But yeah, so far seems to work fine. Other than that, now have to get onto the water side. This was just a eBay tank, and it's basically got two pops come out. One comes that way and one comes that way a little bit. You can see obviously one here. I will bring it over in a minute and look closer, but I had one of the outlets on this welded directly onto the intercooler. It just made sense to me, rather than having it, there's not a lot of room here. I would have had to have it bracketed somewhere else, and now have the small bit of hose and another fitting. I just looked at it and thought it doesn't really make sense. I might as well just have one fitting, that one of these parts that comes off pretty much fitted right into where the thread was. So we just held it together, took it to the same person that welded this bit. I've got a sheet of aluminium. We made a bracket underneath to kind of support it. So it welded the pipe on, and then we had a bracket underneath to support it. So yeah, now the reservoir is basically part of the intercooler now. It doesn't come like this, it just comes with the same threaded hole in the end here. So we just welded it on. So what I'll do is now I'll bring the camera over, we'll get a little close up in here so you see what's going on, and then we'll follow the hoses down and see how it gets on. Right, so here we are. As you can see, this is what one of the fittings that comes off. The other one's here. It is welded directly into the heat exchange, the intercooler, sorry. So usually just there would just be a hole with a thread in it. And then if you see down there, see that plate? That plate we basically cut a piece of sheet aluminium, and we had it welded onto here basically on the underside, and then it welds onto the underside of the reservoir, which seems to support. I mean, it's solid, it ain't coming off. So yeah, it's welded straight on there, and then the pipes come off. So this pipe comes round, goes down in between that gap, and then if you look in, let me get the light, see in there we've got a 90-degree angle fitting coming off, and they both come down here. Right, so what I'm going to do is now I'll send the ramp up a little bit, and then we'll check it from where the pump is and the heat exchanger and everything, and go from there. But I'll just give you a quick close-up of the setup basically. Right, let's send it up. Right, so this is the next piece of the puzzle, the pump. The pump I went for is this one. It's a Davis Craig electronic booster pump. It is the EB40. There is a smaller one that doesn't give out as much flow basically. Make sure you, if you're looking for this one, make sure you get the 12 volt one, because there is a 24 volt one. It puts out 35 litres a minute. It is really good pump. I will show you the flow later on, so we'll get to that a bit later on. But you basically get this rubber mounting bracket with it. I riv nutted the chassis rail, so I actually drilled it, riv nutted it, so it's on here. It does look a little bit cocked, it's just because of the way the pipes are, because they're really stiff. With the hose, I'm going to show you in a minute the hose, because I did use different hose at first and had problems with it kinking, so I went to this stuff. I'm not going to lie, this stuff is a right pain in the arse to work with because it's so stiff, but then at the same time, that is the reason why it's so good, because it's so stiff and it's so strong. But yeah, I'll cover quickly the pump. So the pump, you get the wire straight off it with the plug, and then you also get a piece of wire with the other end of the plug. I've wired it into the relay in the fuse box, so I've set up a new relay. Mine is ignition fed, so as soon as I turn the ignition on, the engine's running, whatever, this pump will just run continuously. The whole time the engine's on or the ignition's on, that pump will just run all the time. Some people have them on switches, etc. I can't really see what the point of wiring the switch all the way to the car is, because then I need to remember to turn it on. I can't really see any negatives just of running it all the time, other than the fact of wearing your pump out. But I mean, this is brushless, so this is a brushless pump, so in reality it shouldn't really wear out. So yeah, I've just wired that directly up, so it's just off a relay. As soon as you turn the ignition on, that pump will just run, and the whole time the engine's running, this pump will just circulate the coolant the whole time. So yeah, that's pretty much the pump. covered, just put it there. Obviously it doesn't really matter which way you want to do it. I've just done it this way, I think the best. So mine comes from the reservoir, comes through the intercooler, out the other end of the intercooler into this pump. So to me it kind of makes sense because it almost like gravity feeds the pump, and then the pump then shoots it off, goes through the heat exchanger, comes back round and circulates back round. So what I'll do now is let me get this hose, is what I'm obviously using now. I'll get you a piece of that, and I'll get a piece of the hose I used before, and I'll show you why I ended up switching to this. Right, so this is what I used before. It's just clear hose. It's not as thick as the other stuff, but as you can see already there, it's not very strong. Now what happens is, I don't know how well you're going to see this on the camera, but as soon as you start bending it a bit, see there, that's already squashing. So that's already restricting flow. And look, the more you bend it, see that? I just think that's basically on a 180, and it's completely closed itself up. And then even when you start opening it a bit, you see, even when I've let go now, you see that kink that's just stayed in it? Because it's just no good. So I did the whole system in this, and then I was just looking around it and I thought it's just not right. So I took all this off and binned it, and what we got was this. So you can see that one's cut a bit shit at the other end. See that? I'm literally squeezing that as hard as I can, and you won't do nothing with it. Now, if you look at this, see that? See that? I've done almost a 360 there. You see how the hose has still stayed the same? You can bend it whichever way you want. But at the same time, what's so good about this also makes it an absolute pain to work with, because it's so stiff trying to route it where you want to go. And not only that, when you push it onto your fittings, it's hard to get onto the fitting, and then when you're clamping it up, you need to use a good Jubilee clip. It's got to be a good quality one. If you've got one of them ones where you go to do it tight and it starts skipping round, there's no point even trying, because this stuff, because it's so hard and it's got the reinforcement in it, it just don't clamp. You feel like it's clamped it, but then you grab it and you can turn it, so you need a clamp where you can fucking really tighten it. You've got to proper tighten it. I've done mine, I haven't had no leaks, but we keep good. I think ours are Vice Grip, I think they are. And they're the only ones we use. Some guy that we get them off, he tried to change different brand. I said to him, look, either get me the old ones or we'll buy them from somewhere else, because cheap Jubilee clips are fucking shit. Absolute shit. Get good ones. Especially for this, you need good ones. But yeah, that's why I changed to this, and now we've got no kinks. The other thing is, I did notice as well in the reservoir, I thought it had good flow before when I had that other hose on it, but I tell you what, when I changed to this and then I turned it on again, I looked in the reservoir, the way it was swirling, it was a massive difference. And where it's sharp near the intercooler, that was where I was getting some kink in. Now I put this on, there is no kink in. So if you are looking to do clear, if you're looking to do black, it don't really matter. But then again, think as well, if you're doing like the black rubber as well and stuff like that, sometimes when it starts kinking, I don't feel like it's as noticeable. You probably have to do it by feel. So whatever hose you're using, I'd highly recommend going round with your hand and just feeling if you can feel any kinks anywhere, because flow from my knowledge, from what I've been looking into it, it seems like having good flow is one of the key points you need to having a good working water to air intercooler system. So this stuff, highly recommend. You can just get it off eBay. This was off eBay, the same as the other stuff. So yeah, just if you're gonna go clear, go for this. Even if you're gonna go for black, you need something reinforced. It needs to be strong. It needs to be something that's not gonna kink. So yeah, highly recommend this stuff. So now we'll take the camera over. I'll show you the heat exchanger I went for. It's not the biggest, ideally I want a bigger one, but I'll take you over now, we'll have a look at that. And then I'll turn the ignition on and we'll go up and have a look at the reservoir. So yeah, let's have a look at the heat exchanger. Right, so here's my heat exchanger. This is my DSG oil cooler. Ideally, I don't want to put it here to block the flow to that a little bit, but with all the pipe work and everything I've got over here, I really just had no choice. This is the only way I was going to put it. I have still got to do the engine oil cooler, which I'm definitely going to make sure that has to fit over that side somewhere. so it doesn't, I don't want to put another one here. I didn't really want to put this one here, but I had to. So as you can see, it's not massive, but it is thick. I've cut out the trim round, so it does kind of see, I don't know how well you can see here, but it does fit inside the channel. Obviously I've got my aircon and my normal radiator and stuff, so again, if you're using it, if you're on a different car like a Mark II or something, you could probably go for a massive tall one. With everything here, I'd have to cut so much out, and then you probably, I've had this before where the problem is if you start cutting into these the supports for the latch and stuff, you start getting it where you try and slam the bonnet and it just bows and it don't slam. So for now, I've just gone for this one. It is quite thick. It is a fair few inches thick. It is dual pass as well. I don't know how you can see, but there is a weld here. If you don't know what dual pass is, so basically when the coolant comes down from the pump, it'll go in here into this fitting here. It has to go all the way to the end, and it travels down the tank, and then it has to come back. That's why it's called dual pass. So the water will basically go to the back down, so it has to pass through twice. On some of them, when they're not, you'll find they'll take the easiest route and they might not use the whole of the heat exchanger. So again, I don't know how well this is going to work, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it is. If it doesn't work, it is one of them ones where I'm just going to have to do something with this and probably the crash bar and stuff, and try and get maybe one that's a bit thinner that goes all the way to the top, and go for a full size one. I mean, again, if you're doing something like I just said, if you're doing something where you've got enough room, go for the biggest one possible. I've tried to not go too overkill. This was off eBay, but it is an AVT one, which seems to be quite well known when I was looking into it. There is a port here where you can put a temp sensor if you want. I've not bothered. To me, the important things is the intake temps, and that's all I'm going to be looking at. The temperature of this water kind of doesn't matter too much, because it's mainly about your intake temps. I mean, it does give you a bit insight into what the coolant inside this system is doing, but I mean, if your intake temps are right, does it really fucking matter? So that's all I'm going to be monitoring, the intake temps. So yeah, this is the heat exchanger I went for. It's a real simple setup and system. How well it's going to work, I don't know, but what I'll do is we'll let it down now. I'll get the camera into the reservoir, and well, what I'll do is I'll turn the ignition on from start. We'll have a look at the flow in these pipes. It does aerate them a little bit. I have bled out as much air as I want. I think it's just the power of the pump that aerates it a bit. But yeah, let me let it down, turn the ignition on, and we'll look at the flow in the lines. Right, so that's it. The pump is running. The ignition's just turned on. As you can hear, the pump is really quiet. I think it's because it's brushless. I was worried that when the car was running, it was going to be loud and annoying, but to be honest with you, by the time the bumper's on and the engine's running, you're not even going to hear that pump. I mean, the engine's going to be way louder than that. But as you can see, I mean, just from looking at the lines, you can see it flows really well. It does get a bit aerated looking at it sometimes, but like I said, I think that is just due to the power of the pump. It just aerates the coolant a little bit. But yeah, we'll let it down now, and I'll show you what the flow's like in the reservoir. Alright, so here we go. I'll show it as best I can. Try and move the light as best I can. As you can see, it's swelling around, looking real good. I believe that's enough flow. It seems to be flowing quite well. Like I said, I tried it a little bit on the estate and that, and it seemed alright, so we'll just have to see how it gets on, but so far so good. So like I said, I have done my catch can setup, which I will just show you quickly. So on a previous video I did show you these fittings I've got here. So one hose comes down, goes under this panel here, comes round. I've got the Nuke Performance catch can that breathes to atmosphere, so you've got a dipstick, it breathes to atmosphere, it's all AN10, and then we've got a 90 round there, comes round. I don't like how this is. I messed up. If you have seen my previous videos, I basically messed up with these fittings. I was planning on using 2 straight ones, just there, and then I realized I forgot about the coil packs, had to go back, redo it, use these banjo ones that actually move, but I can't even angle it round there. All the fittings are just too big. So I probably will be moving this one and blanking it and maybe going around to the back so it just goes straight. The main thing is I just don't like how this sits up in the air. I want it down here, so I probably will go around the back. I'll revisit that. For the minute, I can't be arsed. I just wanna get it on the road, put some miles on it, use it a little bit. So yeah, that's just a simple one, quick there. But yeah, it's got all the catch cans set up. So yeah, other than that, we're ready to go. Right, so that is it for today's video. We've covered all the water to air intercooler setup. If you've got any questions about anything or want to know where I got anything from, just drop it down in the comments and I'm happy to help out. I covered the catch can, there's not really a lot to it, but I just covered that anyway. But yeah, like I said, the exhaust is the only thing that it hasn't got. It's got the downpipe at the minute. So probably mid of next week, it is going somewhere to have a full exhaust done. After that, I'll then be able to go on the road and we'll be able to do a bit of road mapping, get it running a little bit more. So yeah, this should be the last video before we're doing like a first dry video. So the next video coming should be the car out on the road. I have got everything sorted. It is literally just the exhaust and then some more mapping, because he did only do base mapping, just got the tables right for starting and driving around. So yeah, we're gonna have to drive out, do a little bit more mapping, and then the next video will be the first drive basically, as long as everything goes to plan. So yeah, what I'll do now is I'm just doing the oil change, the first engine flush. So when I've done that, I will run it and get a clip and I'll put it at the end of this video. So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Enjoy it running and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.